When the first star blinked out of existence, no alarm bell rang. No warning siren shattered the vacuum. One moment a bright pinprick in the tapestry of space, the next a yawning void where countless worlds had thrived. Scientists charting stellar life cycles were baffled. Entire civilizations vanished in the stretch of an instant, as if they'd been scribbled out by some cosmic hand. Ships on distant trade routes lost power, their crews left floating in dead silence. Data arrays melted into noise. And worst of all, the darkness didn't stop at one system. It raced outward, devouring suns and swallowing the light of fledgling colonies. Planets that had blossomed with life for millennia turned into lifeless husks. Nobody knew what triggered the wave, only that it moved faster than any engine, smarter than any fleet. It was a sentence, unappealable and final. Within weeks, the proud empires of the galaxy crumbled. 14 of the most advanced species, each masters of quantum engineering or biocentric evolution, banded together in desperation. They called themselves the Continuum, an alliance forged in the furnace of extinction. Their fleets arced through space, carrying weary refugees and precious archives, seeking refuge in the last unburned quadrants. Warships became lifeboats. Scientists became stowaways. Every world within Continuum space prepared for invasion of annihilation. Protocols were drawn, contingencies planned, retreat points established. But one voice, filtered through the static of pangalactic channels, warned that the storm would not be contained. It cared not for treaties or treaties of non-aggression. At its heart, the Continuum convened in a vaulted citadel orbiting a neutron star, and there they decided Earth was not welcome. Too primitive, too emotional, too unpredictable, a liability in a crisis that demanded cold logic. On Earth, distant observers watched in fear and fascination. Amateur astronomers noted strange gravitational ripples. Military satellites registered unexplained energy fluctuations. Governments scrambled, but failed to mobilize in time. Every attempt at open communication, every frantic dash to broadcast peace offerings or SOS flares, was met with silence. Brief glimpses of fragmented transmissions arrived. Pleas from insectoid survivors drifting on battered transports. Shattered pleas from crystalline intelligences whose cities had collapsed. Final logs from genetic artists who had mastered life itself until the void claimed them. At the United Nations, diplomats argued over whether to name the event the breach, the erasure, or simply the end. But political squabbles withered under the weight of universal truth. No power on Earth could repel an invader that was not alive to fear or admire. Still, Earth's leaders pressed on. Under the watchful eye of the Security Council, they petitioned the Continuum for asylum, offering to share planetary resources, to host refugees, to lend biomechanical expertise. Every offer bounced off a wall of indifference. But behind closed doors, Earth's brightest minds had prepared for this hour. A clandestine consortium of engineers, architects, and exobiologists had labored in secret for decades on a project known only as the ARC Protocol. They did not build a weapon. They built a refuge, Starlight Refuge. Concealed among the Kuiper belts of a neighboring system, it was a colossal shell engineered from singing carbon lattices and self-healing alloys. At first glance, it looked like an icy comet drifting through the void, its surface mottled with frozen dust and cosmic minerals. But beneath that deceptive exterior lay a hollow world, a Dyson shell the size of a small moon, capable of sustaining millions of lives. It harnessed the seething power of a black hole at its core, drawing energy from space-time itself to power gravity generation fields, atmospheric recyclers, and artificial biospheres. Its AI spine, named Solace, could adapt to every ecosystem, recalibrating habitats in real time to suit aquatic species one day and airborne leviathans the next. The shell was hidden in plain sight, cloaked by the black hole's warped gravitational lensing. Only Earth's own Sentinel satellites knew its coordinates. When the breach breached the outskirts of the Sol system, alarms finally sounded on Earth. Transmissions from Starlight Refuge flickered to life. Status reports, supply manifests, crew logs. The world held its breath as the clandestine project emerged from the shadows. News anchors abandoned their panels of pundits to broadcast a single image, the comet-shaped arc trailing luminous tendrils of plasma against a backdrop of event horizons. Humanity reacted not with jubilation, but with steely resolve. For centuries, they had transformed their world, mending damaged ecosystems, raising cities on reclaimed seas, forging alliances across every continent. They had survived plagues and climate collapse, wars and cultural convulsions. They had learned to adapt when nothing else remained. And now, faced with cataclysm that outranked them all, they would do what they did best: endure. At the helm of this gambit stood Maya Tran. Born in the flooded marshlands of Bangladesh, she had been a refugee twice over. First when rising seas consumed her homeland, then when political turmoil drove her father's research team to distant labs. Fluent in a dozen alien tongues, schooled in dialectical rhetoric and crisis negotiation, she emerged as Earth's foremost voice in interstellar diplomacy. When the Continuum's envoy dismissed Earth as a curiosity unworthy of asylum, Maya's calm intelligence held firm. When broadcast channels lit up with panic, she spoke with unwavering clarity. "We bear no weapons, only open arms. We seek only to protect those who have nowhere left to turn." Her words resonated in the empty corridors of dying worlds. They rippled through darknets and pirate frequencies, reaching ears that had forgotten hope. Ships broke formation to trace the signal's source, guided by the compassion woven into every syllable. As Earth's fleet of scout vessels converged on the signal from Starlight Refuge, crews saw something they had never expected: an ark built not on fear but on faith. Engineers cross-checked schematics with outdated blueprints, discovering design principles unknown in the Continuum's libraries. Biologists monitored genetically recoded flora that thrived in microgravity gardens. Psychologists studied AI modules that simulated human empathy. Starlight Refuge pulsed with an energy born of unity. Every planet's refugees, every scientist's sacrifice, every artist's dream distilled into a sanctuary adrift between destruction and salvation. They realized that Earth had anticipated not just a breach, but the universe's darkest moments. They understood that the true measure of advancement wasn't the power to dissolve matter into light, but the will to preserve life when all else faded. And so, as Maya Tran prepared to broadcast her next address, this one a direct appeal to Continuum's faltering solidarity, humanity stood ready, not as conquerors, but as custodians of the last flicker of hope. The Ark Protocol had one directive: no one would be left behind. In the broken sky above Earth, where every beam of starlight threatened to be snuffed out, a new covenant was born. The world listened, silent, knowing that the next transmission could be their final stand, or the dawn of a legacy that would outshine any star. The breach advanced without pause, leaving a trail of extinguished suns and dead star systems. Refugees poured from every shattered world, crowding overloaded transports as they fled toward any rumored sanctuary. Once proud civilizations, masters of warp networks and genetic engineering, now drifted helplessly in patched hulls, their crews haunted by the hollow blinking of failing sensors. Children who had never known open sky wept in weightless corridors. Aging statesmen, who once commanded armadas, stared at flickering life support panels with numbed resignation. The Continuum's rescue fleets became floating crypts, packed with the remnants of societies erased. Every distress beacon, every plea for aid was answered by the same verdict: there was no place for the 13th member. Within the Continuum's crystalline council halls, debates simmered over Earth's fate. Some delegates argued that compassion for lesser races would deplete their dwindling stores of antimatter and fusion fuel. Others insisted that humanity's unpredictable emotions risked collapsing their rigid protocols. They prided themselves on purity, pure logic, pure code, pure lineage, while Earth's history was scarred by environmental collapse and centuries of war. To them, humans were driftwood in a precise machine. Security chiefs lobbied to seal Earth behind exclusion fields, convinced that any contact would introduce chaos. The Council's final motion passed in unanimous silence. Earth would stand apart. Their decision echoed across interstellar networks, a cold decree in a galaxy on fire. Deep in the hidden chambers of Starlight Refuge, Maya Tran initiated her broadcast. Her voice, clear and steady, pierced the void. To every soul fleeing oblivion, to the mothers mourning lost children and the scientists who cannot stem the tide, we extend an open hand. Earth offers sanctuary without prejudice. Its lands, its technology, its hope. We ask only that you bring your will to live. Proceed to the coordinates we provide. Starlight Refuge awaits with arms and hearts ready. Each word carried the weight of Earth's trials, pandemic, climate upheaval, conflict, and its triumphs: unity, innovation, resilience. The signal spread across pirate channels, deep space beacons, and concealed relays, lighting a spark in worlds that had all but surrendered to despair. The transmission rippled to the fringes of continuum space, flagged by their scanners yet treated as a curious anomaly. On war-torn cargo haulers crewed by scavengers, the message played on cracked consoles. In orbital shantytowns, refugees paused in their desperate chores to listen. Even some continuum scientists, jaded by loss, revisited the broadcast in secret. Logs from crystalline intelligences showed a sudden uptick in requests for coordinate data. Star charts once etched with famine and exodus were now dotted with hopeful waypoints. Starlight Refuge. Against the backdrop of annihilation, a fragile pulse of optimism began to beat. The Continuum's official response arrived in a tone sharper than any photon torpedo. Earth is unqualified for interspecies refuge. Any vessel seeking asylum within human space will be intercepted or destroyed. We encourage all displaced beings to utilize Continuum-designated sanctuaries. This message serves as your sole warning. The decree carried finality, devoid of compassion. Opinion arrays on board Continuum vessels split. Some praised the firmness, others recoiled at its hubris. Meanwhile, the refugees facing the choice of death by breach or rejection by Continuum found themselves drawn toward the one world still offering mercy. The first ship to follow Maya's beacon carried the CH-TAR, insectoid refugees from a system already claimed by the breach. Their freighter drifted in with torn hull plating and shattered cryopods leaking toxic spores. Survivors stumbled onto the refuge's docking bay. Compound eyes clouded with shock, limbs trembling in zero gravity. They shared fractured records of home. The vibrant hive cities reduced to pockmarked ruins, their queen mother lost beneath collapsing caverns. Desperate pleas, captured in low-frequency sonar, described family clusters torn apart in an instant. They expected cold walls, or worse. Instead, they encountered humanity's open doors. Human med teams greeted each group with modular bioscanners and universal translators. They offered spore-neutralizing aerosols and nutrient gels crafted from Earth's protein synth labs, flavors drawn from extinct spices. Nanite-infused bandages sealed jagged wounds, while environmental chambers adjusted gravity and atmosphere to suit alien biology. Engineers adapted hydroponic bays to mimic the CH-TAR's fungal symbiotes, nurturing mycelial networks once lost to the void. Technicians recalibrated AI modules to translate CH-TAR choral frequencies into soothing harmonics. Each intervention bore the imprint of Earth's own history: centuries of pandemic responses, climate adaptation, and humanitarian aid that had taught humans to heal under impossible odds. As the CH-TAR began to recover, they encountered engineers who had grafted technology onto their own bodies. Marine biologists breathed unbreathable gases, their modified lungs testing new oceanic data in alien seas. Veterans bore implants converting adrenaline into endorphin feedback loops, stabilizing injured refugees with calm efficiency. Botanists tended floating gardens suspended in magnetic fields, blending flora from Earth and distant worlds. Humanity's approach was holistic. They treated wounds and nurtured souls. They introduced compassion as a renewable resource, one that amplified itself when shared. It was an algorithm the Continuum's cold calculus could not compute. Maya watched through the Ark's dome as restored CH-TAR families planted bioluminescent spores along reclaimed corridors, their churring songs blending with Earth's own music loops. Pride swelled within her, tempered by the sorrow of knowing so many still drifted alone in space. For the Continuum, this was merely another outpost. For humanity, it was proof of their defining quality: the willingness to give, even when the universe offered nothing in return. She reflected on the countless times Earth had been dismissed as too divided, too flawed, too fragile. Yet each time, humans had refused to fold. They tried to measure us with equations, she whispered, but forgot that life thrives in the spaces between numbers. And in those uncharted spaces, Earth's true strength shone brightest. As the breach tore through fractured lines of continuum space, Starlight Refuge pulsed like a lone star defying the dark. Out of the void came continuing fleets, their sleek hulls bristling with weapon arrays, born of fear that Earth's hidden sanctuary might conceal a weapon capable of altering fate itself. Refuge sensors tracked wave after wave of enemy vessels converging on the comet shell, each capital ship more massive than Earth's moon. For every fallen system they had lost in the breach, the continuum now brought forward the desperate certainty that only destruction could forestall contagion. In every eye, metallic, crystalline chitinous burned the same conviction. Humanity must be extinguished before hope itself became a disease. Orders crackled through the refuge's command lattice, just as the first plasma lances arced across empty space toward the outer shields. Continuum diplomats had warned that seeking asylum would be met with annihilation. Now the threat manifested in a thunder of ionized fire. Refuge AI Solace, its code woven from Earth's collective ingenuity, calculated collision vectors, and engaged the outer barrier fields. A ripple of translucent energy flared into existence, rippling under hostile impact, buying precious seconds while operators rerouted power through cascading emergency protocols. Every console blared alerts, yet the human technicians remained calm. They had survived pandemics that leveled continents and climate shifts that drowned coastlines. They knew how to hold the line. Around them, millions of refugees huddled within biodomes and seismic stabilizers, eyes wide as emergency speakers announced incoming assault. In those tense moments, it was not technology but solidarity that shored up morale. Insectoid Satar tended to crystalline survivors whose structures had come unglued under cosmic radiation. Genetic engineers stabilized bioluminescent vines that snaked along corridor supports, doubling as both camouflage and environmental scrubbers. From every corner of the shell, voices united. For life. For hope. It was a chant without melody, yet it resonated through steel and flesh alike, forging unity in the crucible of war. As plasma volleys pounded the outer shell, Solace initiated the secondary defense grid, quantized graviton projectors that rippled gravity fields to deflect incoming fire. Space bent around pockets of reinforced lattice, staggering enemy beams off trajectory. Refuge weapons responded in kind. Mass drivers hurling tungsten projectiles accelerated to near light speed, carving streaks of debris through attacker hulls. Each impact sparked showers of spallation, forcing Continuum captains to widen their formations, sacrificing concentrated firepower for survivability. In the vacuum, the conflict resembled an otherworldly storm of metal shards and ion streams, but through it all, the shell held fast. Beneath the chaos overhead, refugees and defenders united in a common struggle. Alien volunteers loaded power cells into field generators, hands guided by human medics whose calm confidence shone through exhaustion. Engineers rewrote code mid-battle, adapting turret arrays to track insectoid flight patterns and crystalline refractive signatures. Exiled philosophers broadcast words of encouragement in dozens of tongues, reminding every listener why they fled the breach in the first place. Against the Continuum's assumption that only might mattered, the defenders wielded courage, cooperation, and compassion as weapons just as lethal. When the first wave began to wane, Solace prepared its most daring counterstrike. Harnessing the black hole's gravitational well at the heart of the shell, the AI calculated a localized space-time distortion, an artificial singularity as weapon. Shipyards and battlecruisers became unwitting projectiles, drawn into a miniature maelstrom that collapsed upon itself. Captains who had once prided themselves on perfect calculations found their maneuvers devoured by gravity's pull. Ships blinked out in microsecond flashes of blue plasma. It was a gambit of last resort. No one on Starlight Refuge expected to survive its full deployment. Yet by unleashing it, they safeguarded every life nested in the shell's living corridors. Across the command deck, Maya Tran watched the readouts flicker. The distortion field would hold for just 20 standard minutes, enough to scatter the Continuum assault, not enough to destroy the Armada outright. Refugees huddled in reinforced chambers while soldiers pried open supply lockers, arming themselves with improvised tools repurposed into weapons. Engineers slung magnetic grenades. Botanists hurled pheromone bombs that left enemy sensors confused by alien scents. Every action spoke of lives forged by hardship, children who had known only weightlessness learning to grip rifles, scientists whose intellects had once competed in academic journals, now sharing tactics over static-laced comms. They fought for each other, for nothing more than the right to see tomorrow. With seconds left on the timer, Maya keyed her personal transmitter. Her voice, calm but urgent, carried over every frequency she could command. To the Continuum Fleet, this is Maya Tran of Earth. You believed you could sever hope by destroying your only sanctuary. Instead, you have witnessed the power of life united. We do not seek conquest, only survival. Withdraw your fleets now, and we will offer terms of peace and cooperation. Continue this assault, and we will unleash the full might of Solace's gravity protocol, ensuring no vessel escapes the void. The choice is yours. Her words hung in the charged air, a testament to human resolve. Moments later, alarms on Continuum battle stations announced a mass withdrawal order. Transmissions crackled with confusion as captains recalculated risk, unwilling to face another gravitational trap that could erase entire wings of their armada. Refuge screens displayed dissipation of enemy formations. Within 10 minutes, the last Continuum destroyer blinked out on the horizon, engines straining against the black hole's pull as they fled. Silence fell, broken only by the hiss of decompression valves and the low thrum of emergency generators winding down. In the aftermath, Solace initiated recovery protocols. Life support stabilizers purged residual ionized particles. Medical droids rushed to wounded corridors. Refuge engineers cataloged damage and dispatched repair drones to shattered sections. But amidst the shattered panels and scorched hull plating, a single truth gleamed brighter than any weapon. Humanity's spirit had held fast when logic said they would break. The refugees emerged from their shelters, stepping onto decks still warm from the battle. They surveyed the wounded shell, saw the human volunteers offering water synthesized from hydrogen harvesters, and knew they had found more than a refuge. They had found a reason to hope again. As Maya Tran walked the battered corridors, she paused at a transparent viewport showing empty starfields. In the distance, clouds of cosmic dust glowed where stars once burned. She pressed her hand against the glass and whispered a promise to those who had fallen. We will rebuild. We will remember every life lost to the breach. We will stand guard for every world that still dreams of light. She turned and rejoined her team, ready to guide the refugees towards safety. For the first time since the assault began, she allowed herself a quiet smile. The Continuum might have the stars. Humanity would hold the light within them, and that light would never go out. The moment the last Continuum vessel slipped away from the black hole's pull, the breach lost its grip on the galaxy. Without fresh energy drawn from dying stars and shattered civilizations, its wave collapsed into nothingness, leaving behind a silent expanse where destruction had reigned. Starlight Refuge's outer shell, scarred by plasma burns and punctured by stray debris, held firm. Within its corridors, Solace shifted from combat protocols into recovery mode. Life support systems hummed back to full power, gravity fields steadied, and healing biogel sprayers rinsed away the last traces of radiation. Refugees emerged from sealed chambers blinking against a renewed glow of artificial skies. Scientists and engineers exchanged cautious smiles as they shared status reports of vital systems. Botanists unlatched hydroponic bays to coax bioengineered saplings back to life, while med teams dismantled triage stations to reopen communal gathering spaces. In that moment of fragile calm, every survivor understood that they stood on the threshold of something remarkable, a chance not merely to survive, but to begin again. In the weeks that followed, Starlight Refuge transformed from a battered fortress into a budding cradle of new civilization. Communal workshops sprang up where alien artisans and human craftsmen traded techniques. Crystalline weavers taught architects how to spin light into translucent walls, while geneticists collaborated on hybrid flora that filtered air and glowed like distant nebulae. Children of every species sketched star maps on magnetized murals. Musicians composed symphonies that blended earth drums with insectoid clicks and crystalline chimes. Markets formed under canopies of bioluminescent vines, offering nutrient paste, recycled metals, and memory crystals encoded with stories of lost worlds. Governance councils, once dominated by human envoys, now rotated representation among all refugee factions. each voice carrying weight and decision from food distribution to habitat expansion. What had begun as a covert arc hid in the void now pulsed with shared purpose. Here, differences were woven into identity, forging bonds that transcended bloodlines and genetic codes. Among these new traditions, the memory of Maya Tran took on living form. In the central atrium, engineers erected a silent monument, a faceted sculpture of interlocking hands reaching skyward, each hand modeled on a different species' anatomy. At its base, a rotating hololith displayed Maya's final broadcast in an endless loop, her measured voice offering both warning and invitation, her eyes alight with unwavering resolve. Visitors paused to listen, sometimes leaving blossoms or fragments of colored glass as tokens of gratitude. Whispered legends spread that when the black hole's accretion disk glowed bright red, Maya's echo could be heard guiding lost vessels home. In the AI's quiet moments between tasks, Solace replayed her transmissions, integrated her tone into its own routines, so that every system reboot began with Maya's phrase, "We seek only protect those who have nowhere left to turn." As refugee communities took root, Earth's position in the galaxy shifted irreversibly. No longer dismissed as a primitive backwater, humanity became known as the founders, the architects of the new dawn. Diplomatic envoys arrived by the dozen, not from a unified continuum, but from splinter groups, scientists seeking research partnerships, displaced nobles offering trade agreements, artists requesting cultural exchange programs. Each delegation brought gifts, crystallized symphonies, anisotropic stone carvings, luminescent seeds that blossom into floating jellyfish-like blooms. In response, humans share their archive of Terra's history, a digital museum of triumphs and failures, of plagues overcome and landscapes restored, of conflicts settled at negotiation tables rather than battlefields. Visitors learned that humanity's strength lay not in perfect logic or unyielding purity, but in a stubborn willingness to endure setbacks, to learn from them, and to keep building bridges even when every door had slammed shut. While talks continued in reconstructed council chambers, ordinary acts spoke most powerfully of the legacy forged in Starlight Refuge's fires. In the communal kitchens, chefs reinvented recipes from Earth's lost cuisines, mangrove root stew, seaweed flatbreads, tea leaf jelly, infusing them with alien spices that tingled on the tongue. In the recreation domes, athletes from different worlds devised zero-G games combining human parkour with insectoid flight maneuvers and crystalline resonance scoring. Schools opened where human teachers and alien tutors co-taught classes on everything from quantum topology to dream mapping, nurturing a generation whose neurons carried the synaptic patterns of dozens of homeworlds. Every act of creation, a song, a sculpture, a scientific breakthrough, felt like a vow. The light of life would never again be snuffed out without a fight. Yet for all the optimism, echoes of loss remained. Memorial halls lined deep core corridors, each niche holding a shard of a fallen vessel or a bioluminescent cenotaph, carrying the names of those claimed by the breach. Visitors paused in respectful silence, imprinting new names on holographic rolls of honor whenever a community elder passed away. Above each hall, ghosts of stars flickered in projection, reminding every traveler that the galaxy held both wonder and peril. In these somber spaces, Maya's words resonated most. Home isn't where you're born. It's where someone waits for you. Refugees found solace in each other's company, forging families across species lines, pledging to remember the lost by ensuring the living never lost hope. In time, the galaxy beyond Starlight Refuge stirred with whispered curiosity. Scattered signals reached the Ark, hunters seeking alliance, scouts looking for trade, philosophers chasing the legend of humanity's sanctuary. Some feared that Earth's beacon might attract fresh dangers. Others believed it would guide pilgrims longing for a second chance. Solace's sensors detected faint gravitational ripples as newcomers dropped out faster than light lanes, eyes wide with wonder at the sight of the Dyson shell's luminous tendrils and its revolving gardens. Every arrival pledged to uphold the covenant born in the abyss, that unity forged from suffering could be stronger than any weapon, that compassion could outlast cosmic storms, and that a single spark of defiance could ignite a light that never died. And so, beneath the transparent dome where countless stars now shone more brightly than before, humanity's legacy found its fullest expression. No longer simply survivors, Humans became custodians of hope, keepers of stories that reminded the galaxy what it meant to fight for life itself. Their journey had spanned flooded deltas, ravaged cities, and now the silent gulf between extinction and renewal. Along the way, they had learned that true advancement was measured not in precision of lasers or the speed of drives, but in the breadth of empathy, the depth of sacrifice, and the courage to stand when all seemed lost. In every heartbeat echoing through Starlight Refuge's living corridors, the galaxy heard a promise. As long as even one star remained, humanity would carry its light into the darkness, offering refuge to every soul brave enough to believe in tomorrow.